Hey, welcome to the newest episode of The Process of Fat Loss, where our goal is to help you understand the best ways to lose fat and live a healthier life. Join us as we discuss some of the toughest and most valuable topics in health and fitness. Today's going to be a little bit different form of a podcast than we normally do. Normally, I kind of just pick a topic and I really go deep dive into that. But we've had some amazing people have amazing transformation following our process of fat loss. So I think it's time to start telling their stories and showing what they've gone through, because you can hear it from an expert all the time. But when you see somebody actually going through the work, doing the work and hearing their story, that's inspirational because there's somebody that's real, somebody that's actually going through it, and you can see them and see their change. So today we're actually going to start with one of our coaches, Coach Desiree, who's had an amazing transformation since she joined us in 2021, right? That's when you first started with us? Yeah, so 2021, January 2021 was when she first became a coach and kind of started her transformation journey there. So I'm going to first have Desiree start off with an introduction, a little bit about her background.
Yeah, so I'm Desiree, obviously. I've been with GCP for about a little over a year and a half now. Prior to GCP, I did go to college for my bachelor in clinical exercise science, minored in psychology, and kind of was going down a physical therapy route and then came across GCP, kind of went into nutrition and fitness coaching, so that has brought me here today.
Awesome. And today we're going to really dig into her journey, like the whole part of fat loss and how that's kind of affected her life and how some of the tools that we've implemented over the last year and a half has really helped her in that transformation thing. So this is going to be me. I'm just going to kind of throw questions to Desiree, and I'm going to let her kind of spill her guts about how it affected her and how it kind of impacted her life. And then we're going to get a little advice from her as we go along as well. So the first thing we're going to start off with today, Desiree, is what was the process of actual gaining weight for you?
Yeah, so it kind of started after high school. So in high school, I was a dual sport athlete. I was doing basketball, volleyball, literally year round, was in very good shape. So nothing too concerning there. But then once I did get injured, it was like the end of my junior year that kind of spilled into senior year is when I did have like a bone bruise in my ankle. So I ended up getting surgery for that. After that point, I kind of fell into my dark spot. So the recovery for that took about a year of just like being on crutches, again, the surgery, and just not very mobile. But in that time, I didn't really do too much to keep myself active. I know it was kind of hard to stay active, but there are things I could have done. Did not focus on nutrition, health, like nothing of the sort. So that kind of spilled over after high school into college as well. I obviously recovered from that. And when I went to college, I didn't really realize that I had actually gained weight. I kind of just I was blind to it. And then obviously in college, there's alcohol around. You want to be social with your friends, so always going out to eat. I did stay pretty active. I did join a fitness club in college, but again, comes back to the terms you can't outwork a bad diet. Back to that whole thing. But yeah, anyway, so just was very careless during that time. So over the 2 years that I had kind of left the state for college is when I really noticed the difference. And then coming back after graduation is when I really was okay, I got to do something about this. So that was kind of, I guess it was over a 3-4 year span for me would be my time frame.
I mean, that's the story for almost every client I've ever ran into. Very rare is it somebody that they've gained 80 pounds in this year. It's it's like creeping obesity idea that you just gain a little bit of weight every single year and a little bit more and a little bit more. And it's 5 pounds a year ends up being 20 pounds over so many years, right? So that's only 4 years that can come on very quickly. So, I mean, that's the life journey for people. But it happening even at a point when you were kind of active in your lifestyle, right? You did, like you said, health and fitness. You were an athlete at one point as well. So it can happen even because we talk about a lot, that's what the process of fat loss is about, is it's more than just the fitness category, right? All the categories really matter. And off at college, there's a lot of those other categories that take a back seat, right? You might have been doing a little bit of the health and fitness side on the fitness component, but realistically, your nutrition probably wasn't on point at college. The sleep factor, usually for college students, isn't as good as it could be. Environment's a huge thing, right? In terms of the people you're spending time with, you guys are probably drinking alcohol, you're doing those kind of environmental things. And the lifestyle kind of thing too is you're spending time not even focused on like your health and stuff because you're just going to college, right? You're being a college student, you're in your early 20s. So even though like it's a young, I think a lot of our clients, without even realizing it, might have started their weight gain at that point and just never really paid attention to that weight starting to come on because they're so young, and then maybe had kids a little bit after that too and just didn't pay attention. So I think that's a very good starting point for where a lot of people started their journey as well. And
Yeah,
and sorry, with that, and like the injury side is important too. I think a lot of people get injured and they don't realize how negatively that impacts them because they didn't take care of the injury as well as they should have.
right. And I think a lot of like the problem too that I hear a lot of like even clients talk about is like creating these social settings and like linking certain things to those social settings and feeling like you can't enjoy being with people, without linking it to like the alcohol or like the comfort foods and like certain things like that. So I think that that's something that really took an effect that we don't even realize.
Yeah, for sure. So you kind of talked about it a little bit, but let's dive into it even a little deeper. Is how did this all impact your life? So like what were the things you weren't able to do? What are things that you were even aware of, maybe less energy? So how did this impact your life?
Yeah, so energy levels definitely declined after like I was not actively doing sports. As far as like my mentality, I already knew that I was like uncomfortable with myself and like that affected my social settings alone. Like there was a lot of times that I just didn't go out because I wasn't like comfortable going out. Taking a lot of time to figure out what outfit you're gonna wear, like being able to even just go on like a date without, spending 2 hours in your closet, like what am I comfortable actually wearing? So a lot of the mental side, for sure took a effect on me, but energy levels definitely weren't there. Like I've always been someone that has slept well, but my days like got a lot longer when I started to focus on my nutrition and fitness because before like I would want to be in bed at like 6:30, 7 p.m. because I was just exhausted by like the end of the day. But once I started to actually like lose the weight, like my days actually got longer. Like I could actually last until like 9, 10 p.m. and not feel like I'm like a zombie walking through the rest of the day. So I thought that was super powerful. That was a big change in my life.
Yeah, there's two parts that I want to tap into that you said there. One is like me and Erica were just talking last night about she's listening to a podcast right now about self-love, right? Trying to learn how to self-love a little bit, which I think most females and even men nowadays they struggle with a lot, understanding like how to love themselves. And a lot of it comes to body image issues, like you kind of tapped on there. Like it's so much that the idea of like, I want to go shopping in my closet again, right? I want to be able to go, I have all these cool clothes and I just don't feel comfortable in any of them. And on this podcast she was listening to, as a speaker that was up, and she said, everybody stand up. There's 800 people in this audience of women, 800 women. And everybody stand up that feels uncomfortable in their body, right? And 800 women stood up. And they're all shapes and sizes, from bigger to small to super fit, Every single female felt uncomfortable in her own body. And I think that's like a self-love we've got to, especially women. I think men there are there too, but they need to learn how to like start loving themselves again, because realistically your body is just one of the vehicles of our life, and it doesn't, most people, we tell this to clients all the time, I'm sure you've said it to clients, is the side is like, everybody in the gym really doesn't care what you look like, if I'm being honest. They don't really care, like, that how your clothes are looking or anything like that. They're just focused on themselves. We're all in our heads so much we can't even focus on other people. We're just focused on like, I just got to survive this workout. So it's the idea is that self-love, that, you're probably the person judging yourself way more than the other people are. And then the other kind of thing that you tapped on is is other components of the process of fat loss that people just, because it's not really fat loss, but well, and it does come from fat loss, is the energy side. There's so many other benefits you get from focusing on all the 5 pillars and getting those other pillars of health into the equation, that your health just improves so much that sometimes you almost like take that for granted. Like, oh my God, I can actually go out and do all this energy based stuff. I have so much more I can get done in the day. And you're like, oh my God, but I'm not losing any more weight. That scale's not moving, but life is getting like 10,000 times better. That's honestly more important than that scale moving, because that scale we've talked about with our clients, the in-body scan shows if muscle mass is gaining or what's happening, but realistically it's the energy and getting life back that's more important than what that scale says. So I think those are very good points to talk about. What caused you to want to change? So like, I know some of that stuff in terms of like shopping your closet, is there anything else besides that that's kind of like really sparked the change?
So I think like the main time that I actually like realized that I did was after I had graduated and I like wasn't fulfilled at my job, like at like that already made me feel like down in the dumps, and then I was already not comfortable with myself. I felt like it was affecting like my relationships with the people around me. Like I was very closed off to like friends and family, just because I was hiding like a lot of those emotions inside myself. So that's really like I was like I have to like do something, because I obviously like I wanted to do, you know, the fitness coaching and stuff, and that had always been my dream in the back of my mind. But I was like, there's like someone like me could never do that, because like at the physical and mental state that I was in, I was like, there's absolutely no way. So at that point, it was like, all right, we're gonna go in, we're gonna dive in, and it wasn't like an immediate change. Like it was just little things, which we'll get into, but little things that built up to it. But yeah, I think that was my main, like I wanted to rebuild those relationships, and I wanted to like find my personality again. Like everyone who knows me now is like, oh, she's always like smiling and laughing. And like there was a point to where I wasn't like that at all. Like I was like just flatlined, like looked upset and depressed like all the time. And that came from so many insecurities. And like that alone was, yeah, gonna make me emotional, but
I mean, I can definitely see over a year and a half that I did the first interview with you. I thought you had a great personality. You were caring, and I could tell that your journey was just ahead of you, right? That you were about to do. I've had a problem with weight loss in my life too, so I know that journey, and it is tough. But it is awesome to like. I knew that journey was coming for you when I met you, because you care. You had passion. You cared about it, and you looked at it from a different perspective than most people that walk in our door, because you knew the journey was ahead of you, and you were going to have to like change your life to be able to change other people's life. And I thought that was going to be a very cool story at the end. And we're not at the end of the story, obviously. You still are always working on yourself. But the next year and a half has been an amazing journey for me to watch. And so like, but I have seen over that time your personality pick up more and more, the bubbliness pop out even more than I knew before. Because I thought you had a great personality to begin with. That was one of our intriguing things about you, is like she'll get along great with the clients, but it's getting better and better, and you can tell the energy is there more, right? And that you can like just be yourself a lot more, because you feel you're not always worried about how I'm looking in the mirror, right? It's more like, okay, now I'm focused on other people because I've gone down this journey and I know how to help them and change them. So that's pretty awesome. So any struggles before the weight loss? So we talked about mental struggles a little bit. Any physical struggles that the weight loss was like you were having trouble not being able to squat, or I know you had a major back injury from work as well. So what are some struggles that you had before you really started losing weight?
yeah. I think I definitely noticed physical activity was harder, because when I was doing like all the training and stuff, like I was working out at like probably 5 a.m. and then would have practice after class. So, like my body was moving pretty good, but I just felt like after I had gained the weight, like my flexibility for sure went down, because I've always been like pretty flexible, and I wasn't even like able to touch my toes at some point. Yeah, I had a lot of problems with my back, like very, very weak lower back. I would say I got more fatigued, like even just walking, because I enjoy like now I walk like every single day, but before like I would avoid it because I was like, I feel tired, like I just don't even enjoy it anymore. So definitely like stamina and flexibility like declined quite a bit.
And I think those are components that people, again, another aspect of fat loss or weight loss that are important is like what you feel like now and how you can do now, like 3 months from now is going to be a completely different story, right? So you're going to, as you lose weight, we're obviously building a little muscle during that time. You're going to become more flexible because now our body has better range of motion. There's just so many benefits to like going down that journey that have lifelong changing, that I think a lot of people that they give up too quickly, because the beginning of the journey is a struggle, but like it gets so much easier down the road and all these other aspects of life start changing.
It's so interesting because like the mindset behind the workout has changed. Like prior, like it was like, wow, that was such a hard workout. Like my body like is gonna hate me. Like I just feel like terrible after a workout. And now it's like you go into a workout and you're like, wow, that was like super powerful. Yeah, I'll be sore the next day, but like you feel like the empowerment behind it because you're like, wow, my body just did that. Before, like I felt like I was dreading like each workout. So it's interesting to look at like the mindset behind that, I guess.
I mean, that's the story all clients have, right? That first workout they went through, they never thought they were going to make it again, make it to another one. But the ones that kept showing up like you did, they just kept showing up and start showing up more and more often, more consistently. And next thing you know, those workouts are like, they're grabbing heavier weight, right? They're pushing themselves. They went from like, I can't do a single burpee to being able to do a full burpee. Like, it's just incredible to see. I think that's one of the things that we enjoyed the most out of the coaching aspect is progress. Like, I don't really care. Like, if you came in the door and could do like the heaviest deadlift we have, I mean, as a coach, I could care less. But if you came in and you were deadlifting like 90 pounds and like 6 months later you're deadlifting 140, I am so proud of you because of that effort that you've made and that change, that modification of your life. So yeah, I do think that that process happens. And it's just like this, that's what we're going to talk about here next is like the process. So because it is a process, right? So for you, what was the process like? Like, kind of, what are the things you started doing first to start like that change? And then the time frame of so I want you to kind of go from the beginning, like, this is kind of what I started doing, and I got better and better, and I started adding these things to my life. I improved this component, like talking about like nutrition, fitness, and the health side of things. And then that time frame of change, because I think a lot of people think we're talking 3 months later, but we're talking a year and a half. That's how long it's going to take. So I want you to talk about that time frame of change. So how did you first start your journey of weight loss over the last year and a half?
Yeah, so obviously when I started at GCP, I started with like the coaching aspect, but I was strictly just doing mostly the workouts. Like, I think I was only working out, I was only coaching like twice a week. So it's probably just those two, or once or twice a week, I'd say, at GCP. And then the other days I would kind of do stuff on my own. But I wasn't really as active as I should have been. So that was probably the first, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months until I really started to add more days into my routine, I would say, with the strength training component. But I didn't really start to focus on nutrition until the summer after I had started, which is when I had all those emotional conversations with you guys. You guys probably saw me cry more than anybody has. But after that is when I really started to dial in nutrition. My first step for that was like literally just portioning my meals, because I would usually eat like pretty large meals. Obviously the quality of it wasn't that good. So just portioning that down using a smaller plate. And I did that, like only that really, for the first couple weeks, I would say. And then after that, the next step was cutting out sugars, because I'm a big like iced coffee drinker, and like I used to get all like the artificial sugars, like a vanilla latte, like just things like that. So I cut that like cold turkey, and for like the first week, I was not a nice person because of the withdrawals from that. I just felt like my body went into like shock after that. So that was like the second step, and then after that, like, lasted through the whole summer. That was really like the big two things that I did, along with more working out. And then once the fall hit, I think it was September, is when I like really dialed in. I was walking, like, that's when I started walking every single day. I started getting my gallon of water, and then literally just dialed in nutrition based on what we had talked about at the gym. Still kept the sugars out, and then that lasted through like the rest of the year. And then beginning of this year is when I really started to like dial in like the low carbs, like, higher fat diets that we've been working through. And then, yeah, so that's kind of, I don't know if that covered all of it.
So during that time, how much weight have you lost?
Yeah, so based on what I just weighed in, I am 50 pounds down total from when I first started at GCP.
Congrats. That's awesome. Like, I didn't know you had hit the 50-pound mark now, but none of it came off fast, right? That was slow.
Right. Yeah. And like my in-body is like literally just gradual every single month, just like down, down, down. And it has not been like a huge drop, like you said, but it's sustainable. Like, it hasn't come back up. And that's the thing. Like, I obviously don't want it to. And like, I'm proud of myself for actually like keeping it off and continuing to go down, which is what I've always wanted. So.
And during this time, by switching over to like low carb and stuff, have you had any muscle loss?
I would say just recently, yes. However, I have not been strength training as much as I was before, so it kind of went hand in hand there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's the cool part about your journey is in my mind, it's the ideal journey that we talk about with clients. So we give them that like detailed roadmap when they start, right? Especially when they join our nutrition programs with you, right? And Desiree, if you guys don't know, Desiree is our nutrition coach. So she's been through the journey, which is so great about her being a coach because she actually literally can be right there where you're at. Whereas like for Nathan, it's not the easiest thing sometimes to do because he hasn't had a big one, or Nick hasn't had as big a nutrition change. I've had it, but I do the group training calls. So if you guys ever want to do nutrition with us, we are the two people that you're probably going to see the most. But when, you're following that journey along there and you never, you had all that crazy information that I've given you, right? Like you're not getting a lack of knowledge because you can ask me any question. I probably have a solution for it that's like 10 to the 10th power of that, right? 9 to 10. It's something that's way more intense than you need to do, but you never went into the intensity side too much. You just kind of focused on just going to keep getting better and better every month. And I think that's where our clients sometimes struggle is right away when they walk in the door, they're like, I'm going to be perfect tomorrow and I'm never going to relent on this nutrition until I achieve that weight loss goal. And then I'm going to go back to what I was before. But the way you've thought about it, and I'm so proud of the way you've done it, because it's proven like this is really what we've always believed, and it's to see you actually do it. It's like, hey, this is like our legit, this is our walking billboard, because the idea is like you just took on small little habits. The things that you mentioned at the beginning were so simple, right? Just reducing the amount of food that you were eating, and then all of a sudden you started adding a little bit more movement into the equation, and you started to like focus on your water, and that was like months down the road. And then from there you started getting a little bit like, I started challenging you at that point. Let's go a little bit more keto. Let's go a little bit more low carb, optimal diet style, because I felt like that next journey you had built such a foundation that it's like, okay, you have the foundation that like you're not going to fall off all those habits you already built. So now we can go a little bit more intense and more focused. In our GCT programs, our game change transformation programs, we go a little bit more focused a little bit earlier because a lot of people want it like right now, and we can't we're trying not to disappoint, but realistically, if we get somebody bought in for, let's say, 16 months, right? If you could give me 16 months, I guarantee I'll get you to where Desiree just that 50 pounds lost, because we have the process to get there. People just aren't patient enough. But I love the patience that you gave during that time, because that process that we talked about, like you made it sound really like I just did these things, but realistically, you did those things religiously well for 16 months. And I think that's the part that people miss, is that religiously well, like you kept getting better at it. And if you ever felt yourself slip, you would jump back on. We talked about the few times that you slipped on some of the carbs and stuff. Cool. You jump back on the train. You never you didn't give up. Like, I can't do this. Like, no, you just realize I need to modify and make some other habit changes. So that's very awesome. So what kind of positive effects has weight loss had on your life since you've lost the weight?
Yeah, so definitely the mindset. I'm a lot more confident in myself than I used to be. And like, I was actually like, even just walking through the store the other day, and I was like I don't feel uncomfortable like in like, a like social setting anymore. Like, it's just, I mean, I have my days for sure, but I just feel a lot more confident in myself, and I'm not like worried about like what people are thinking about me. Like, I just kind of like do my own thing. And that's something that had like consumed my life like prior to actually like losing weight and like doing a lot of the mindset work as well. And then like, I don't know, even, getting dressed in the morning, like I don't take 2 hours to actually like get ready for a certain like social event that I'm going to. So that alone has saved me a lot of time. And then like workouts have gotten a lot easier. I'm more like able to be specific with my workouts rather than just saying like, oh, well, I'm going to go for, a walk, or I'm just going to walk on the treadmill, or just things like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like I don't know the word for it. Anyway, workouts have gotten easier. And then, yeah, like energy definitely has gotten better. I've gotten my personality back, I would say. So yeah, just big changes like that, I guess.
So one thing that you mentioned doing there was like your mindset, working on your mindset. What are like one or two things that you have done for your mindset besides like obviously just losing weight? I know you work on your mindset a little bit. Like, what are one or two things that you felt have given you some positive, like actually true mindset changes?
So gratitudes and affirmations, they are definitely silly at first, but they do work if you keep up with them. And then just random podcasts that I listen to, like Spotify, I'll type in like positive podcast and I'll just listen to that in the morning if I'm having a bad day to pick me up. So definitely trying to intervene when you get into that negative mindset, I would say is super important. So just throwing on like any kind of podcast that lifts you up those would be my two big ones.
Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up with one last question. One piece of advice for anyone starting or in the middle of their current weight loss journey or fat loss journey.
Yeah, I would say be patient with yourself. And that means like not giving up even if you feel like you're not making progress, because you'll start to notice a lot of like different things rather than just the scale, like how your clothes fit, how you view yourself in the mirror, like how other people view you. Like you'll just be patient with yourself, I would say, would be my biggest thing. Like, don't give up on yourself. You are like capable of so much. Like, I never expected to be in this position today. If you asked me a year ago, I'd be like, no, like there's no way. So yeah, just patience is key, I would say.
Yeah, there's a quote that I've heard a lot, and I say to clients once in a while, but the idea is like we overestimate what we can do in a month and underestimate what we can do in a year, right? So it's the idea is like, I'm going to lose 20 pounds this month. And like, at the very beginning of your program, it could possibly happen, but realistically, it's not going to happen for most people. But you could lose 40 pounds in a year, which is life-changing for most people, right? Like to drop 40 pounds, that's, for a lot of people, they might actually achieve the goal they're wanting to. It's just they want to have it so fast, but they don't get it that fast, and they give up so damn quickly. And that's the part that's like, I want to like that's the part that I'm the most proud of you, is the fact that like we've talked so much over the last year and a half about nutrition, and like you've met with Nathan, and you've done a lot of like working on yourself. But the big thing is like you always kept working on yourself. You were never like, oh, like I had a little bit of a weight gain and now I'm done. Like I'm not a person that can never lose 50 pounds. Like you said, when you started, you probably did think I'm a person that could never lose 50 pounds. That's not me, but you just went to work and you just did the work. And that's, I think that's the thing that we talk about the most, is like, do the work, period. Yeah. And if you do the work consistently for a long enough period of time, trust me, even if it takes 5 years is a very short span out of 100 years, right? So if we live for 100 years, we can, and trust me guys, if you take care of your nutrition, you might be able to live to that component. Who knows? There's a lot of factors out there, but like it could help a lot realistically, because our standard of living will go up a ton. But the idea is like we can definitely affect that. So,
and the
all right,
thing is,
go ahead.
Like don't cheat it. Like, when you're cheating yourself, like keep it sustainable, something that you can keep up with, because once you like feel better, you're not going to want to go back to that original state that you were in. So don't cheat it. Like be patient, just let it happen.
Exactly. Everybody that's tried to cheat it, and we've worked with people that have, right? And every person that's tried to cheat it, it rebounds and kicks them in the face later on down the road, where it's like all of a sudden that weight starts coming back on. And that's why we call it the process of fat loss, because if you don't take time to ingrain the process of the habits, the weight will come back on. And like speaking from somebody that I've struggled with weight a lot, and I know a lot of the people I've worked with struggle with weight a lot, is we've all seen weight come back on. And it's like, that's the most demoralizing thing when the weight comes back on. And it's the idea is like people give up for 4 or 5 years because I just can't do it. It's like, no, you just didn't really ingrain the habits that you needed to, because you're too focused on like the results instead of like, okay, I'm just going to worry about the process and see what happens. Because you might be capable of way more weight than you thought you lost. Now, I've worked with multiple clients that we're going to try to do some podcasts with, if I can get them on over the next couple months, that have like had these weights in mind that they thought they could get to, and next thing they know, they were 10 pounds lighter than they thought they could ever get, or 15 pounds lighter than they ever thought. I bet you're probably almost lighter than you thought you could get to, right? So it's the idea is like, I think people are underestimating where they can get to if they work hard enough and long enough at it.
Right.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up today's discussion. So I hope you guys enjoyed the discussion on today's topic. It was really awesome to deep dive into Desiree's life, because it's truly a testimonial for like what our program does, but then also the hard work that she puts in, why she can be a great nutrition coach, because she has the knowledge, she's been through the process of it. So she can help you guys out a ton, along with like her journey is still going. So she's always learning about what the next steps are to keep that weight off and continue to lose any more that she feels like she wants to lose, or just gain more muscle. Remember, the best time to start living healthier is today. So make sure to take action in your life right away. So like after this podcast, it's not meant to just be like, oh, I heard this podcast. It's like, no, let's get to work. We know we've talked about it, the process of fat loss habits, right? Those are our keystone habits. We have 8 of them. Get to work on it. If you don't know what they are, respond to this podcast and we'll tell you what those 8 are. We have a whole manual for it that I'll send you for free. If you enjoyed today's episode, please give us a review. Subscribe to the podcast. We have a lot of cool content coming out soon. Follow us on social media. Also, follow us on YouTube as well, because I'm starting to put up some new videos and stuff about environmental stuff that's very cool. So please follow us on that. If you have any other ideas that you'd like us to discuss, let us know by sending us an email or a message on our social media. Thanks again, and I hope you'll join us for the next episode of The Process of Fat Loss. Thanks for your time today, Desiree.
Thank you.